The challenge from the stars. Commander Sarah Chen stood at the observation deck of Earth's last orbital defense station, her dark eyes fixed on the swirling patterns of the alien fleet that had appeared just beyond Luna's orbit. The crystalline ships of the Nexus Collective glinted like deadly diamonds in the sunlight, their very presence a statement of technological superiority that made humanity's greatest achievement seem like child's play. The communication screen flickered to life, revealing the towering form of Supreme Overseer Exthal, their bioluminescent tendrils pulsing with what Sarah had learned to recognize as smug satisfaction. "Your species continues to fascinate us, Commander Chen," the alien's voice resonated through the station's speakers. "Despite overwhelming evidence of your technological inferiority, you persist in refusing our generous offer of protection." Sarah maintained her composure, though her fingers tightened imperceptibly on the railing before her. The protection the collective offered came at the price of humanity surrendering its independence, becoming yet another specimen in their vast menagerie of guided civilizations. "We appreciate your concern, Overseer," she replied diplomatically, "but humanity has faced impossible odds before. We prefer to make our own way." The words tasted familiar on her tongue. How many times had she repeated variations of this same conversation over the past month? Exthal's tendrils flickered with what might have been amusement. "Then perhaps a demonstration is in order. We propose a challenge, one that will definitively prove humanity's need for our guidance." Sarah's interest piqued despite her wariness. The collective, for all their apparent superiority, had shown a peculiar fondness for tests and trials. "What kind of challenge?" "Simple." Exthal's massive form shifted closer to their communication array. "We have identified a planet in the Proxima Centauri system that our analysis indicates is completely inhospitable to human life. If your species can establish a sustainable colony there within 1 Earth year, using only your current technology, we will withdraw our offer of protection and recognize humanity as equals." The commander's mind raced through the implications. "And if we fail? Then you will acknowledge your limitations and accept our guidance." "We are not unreasonable, Commander. We merely wish to prevent your species from harming itself through overconfidence." Sarah studied the data streaming across her auxiliary screens as the collective transmitted the planetary specifications. The numbers were grim: atmospheric pressure 30 times that of Earth, surface temperature fluctuating between -200 and +400 degrees Celsius, constant electromagnetic storms that would fry any conventional electronics. It was a death world by any reasonable definition. But there was something in Exthal's tone, a hint of absolute certainty that pricked at Sarah's instincts. The collective had studied humanity extensively, yet they still didn't understand what made humans truly dangerous, not their technology or their physical capabilities, but their absolute refusal to accept impossible odds at face value. "We accept your challenge, Overseer," Sarah declared, allowing herself a small smile. "Though I would like to propose one additional condition." Exthal's tendrils writhed with curiosity. "Speak." "Let us send a single human to this planet first, a pathfinder. Give them 1 month to prove survival is possible before we commit to the full colonization effort." The alien leader's bioluminescence pulsed with what could only be described as delight. "You would risk one of your own in such a futile gesture?" "The atmospheric conditions alone would." "Those are our terms," Sarah interrupted firmly. 1 human, 1 month. If they survive, we proceed with the colony. If they don't. She let the implication hang in the air. "Agreed." Exthal's response came almost too quickly. "Choose your pathfinder, Commander Chen. We will transport them to the planet in 7 of your Earth days." As the communication ended, Sarah's second-in-command, Major David Rivera, stepped out of the shadows. "You already have someone in mind, don't you?" Sarah nodded, her smile growing wider. "Get me Dr. Maya Patel from the Deep Earth Adaptation Program. Tell her to bring her toolkit, and that environmental suit she's been tinkering with. The one that everyone says is impossible?" David's eyebrows rose. Exactly. The collective thinks they understand human limitations. It's time we showed them why that's a dangerous assumption. The impossible engineer. Dr. Maya Patel's laboratory deep beneath the Rocky Mountains looked more like an artist's workshop than a scientific facility. Half-finished environmental suits hung from ceiling tracks like mechanical cocoons, while scattered components and prototype designs covered every available surface. The engineer herself stood before her latest creation, her dark hair tied back in a messy bun as she made minute adjustments to what looked like a second skin made of shifting mercury. "You want me to test this on an actual death world?" Maya asked, not looking up from her work as Commander Chen explained the situation. "The suits barely passed Earth-based trials." "That's exactly why we need you," Sarah replied, watching the liquid metal ripple under Maya's touch. "The collective expects us to fail. They're counting on us using conventional technology." Maya finally turned, her eyes bright with the kind of intensity that made bureaucrats nervous. "They don't know about the symbiotic neural interface?" "No. And they don't know about your work with extremophile bacteria either. That's our advantage." The engineer ran her hand along the suit's surface, leaving trails that slowly filled themselves in. "The bacterial matrix can adapt to almost any environment, sharing attributes across the colony to protect the host. But the neural interface is still experimental. One wrong connection." "You've tested it more thoroughly than anyone else could have," Sarah interrupted. "And you're the only one who truly understands how it works." Maya was quiet for a long moment, studying the readouts on her holographic displays. "When do we leave?" "You have 5 days to prepare. The collective provides transport to the planet, then you have 1 month to prove survival is possible." A grin slowly spread across Maya's face. 5 days? I can do a lot with 5 days. The arrival. The collective's transport ship resembled a crystalline cathedral, its corridors humming with energy that made human hair stand on end. Maya stood in the launch bay, already sealed within her experimental suit, its surface now a dull gray that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Xthel's massive form loomed over her, their tendrils moving in patterns that suggested intense scanning. "Your protective equipment appears primitive," they observed. "Are you certain you wish to proceed? We would not be responsible for your death." Maya's voice came through the suit's external speakers with a slight metallic tinge. "Just get me to the planet, Overseer. I'll handle the rest." The descent pod was little more than a crystalline bubble, designed to survive atmospheric entry and little else. As it detached from the main ship, Maya felt the bacterial matrix of her suit coming fully online, billions of microscopic organisms working in concert to maintain her survival. The planet's atmosphere hit like a physical wall. External temperatures soared past the point where conventional materials would have vaporized. The neural interface flooded Maya's consciousness with data as the bacterial matrix adapted in real time, transforming the suit's properties to match each new challenge. When the pod finally cracked open on the planet's surface, Maya stepped out into conditions that should have killed her instantly. Instead, she felt only a mild discomfort as the suit continued to evolve, its surface now resembling something between metal and living tissue. "Fascinating," she muttered, watching readings scroll across her neural display. "The bacteria are already incorporating local extremophile DNA sequences." First steps. The landscape before Maya resembled a nightmare artist's interpretation of hell. Rivers of liquid metal cut through fields of crystalline formations that grew and shrank with the planet's rapid temperature fluctuations. The sky, a perpetual storm of electromagnetic energy, painted everything in shifting colors that hurt the eyes. Environmental analysis beginning, Maya reported through her suit's communication system, knowing both Earth and the collective were listening. Atmospheric pressure holding steady at 30 times Earth normal. Temperature currently at 342 degrees Celsius and rising. She took careful steps forward, testing the ground with each movement. The bacterial matrix had already formed a layer of specialized organisms on the suit's feet, preventing them from sinking into the semi-liquid surface. Preliminary geological survey indicates high concentrations of rare earth elements, she continued, her scientific curiosity overtaking any fear. The electromagnetic storms appear to be creating natural fusion reactions in the upper atmosphere. If we could harness that energy. Exthel's voice crackled through her communications. You are collecting data for a colonization that will never occur. The pressure alone should have crushed your primitive protection systems. Maya smiled inside her suit, watching as the bacterial matrix incorporated new elements from the environment, strengthening itself. You know what I love about your species, Overseer? You're so convinced of your own superiority that you never consider you might not know everything. She reached down, picking up a small crystal formation that would have melted through conventional protective gear. The suit's surface rippled, analyzing and adapting to the material's properties. For instance, did you know that Earth has bacteria that can survive in nuclear reactors? Or others that eat metal and excrete electricity? Irrelevant examples of primitive life forms, Exthel dismissed. Or, Maya continued, now walking confidently across the liquid metal river, that humans have learned to form symbiotic relationships with these organisms? To guide their evolution and combine their abilities in ways nature never imagined? The silence from the collective's communication channel was deeply satisfying. Evolution. 2 weeks into her stay on the Death World, Maya had established what she jokingly called her beach house. The structure, grown from a combination of local crystals and bacterially modified metals, stood defiantly against the planet's brutal conditions. Inside, the environmental conditions were still lethal by Earth standards, but perfectly manageable for her enhanced suit. Day 15 log entry, Maya spoke as she worked on expanding her shelter. The bacterial matrix has exceeded all expectations. It's not just adapting to the environment anymore, it's actively improving it. She gestured to the crystalline walls, where colonies of modified extremophiles were slowly transforming the molecular structure of the local materials. By introducing Earth-based bacterial strains and allowing them to merge with local microorganisms, we're creating entirely new life forms that thrive in these conditions. The collective had grown unusually quiet over the past few days, their constant monitoring now replaced by long periods of silence. Maya suspected they were struggling to understand how their primitive test subject wasn't just surviving but thriving. The electromagnetic storms that were supposed to fry our electronics, she continued, a note of pride in her voice. The new bacterial strains actually feed on the energy, using it to power their own biological processes. We're not fighting the environment anymore, we're becoming part of it. Commander Chen's voice came through the communication link, bearing good news. The first colony ship launches in 3 days, Maya. Your success has convinced the Security Council to greenlight the full mission. Maya smiled, watching as her bacterial architects continued their work. Tell them to pack light. Everything we need is already here. The turning point. The collective's reaction to the colony ship launch was swift and unexpected. Exthel themselves appeared in Maya's shelter through a crystalline projection, their tendrils writhing with what she had learned to recognize as agitation. Your actions violate the natural order, the Overseer declared. This level of biological manipulation, this cooperation with primitive life forms. It cannot be allowed. Maya continued her work, deliberately casual. I thought the challenge was to establish a sustainable colony. You never specified how we should do it. We expected you to fail. Exthel's form pulsed with intense light. Your species was supposed to recognize its limitations, to understand the need for proper guidance. Instead, you've developed something we cannot control. That's what really bothers you, isn't it? Maya turned to face the projection. Not that we succeeded, but that we did it in a way you never considered. You're not afraid of our weakness, you're afraid of our adaptability. The overseer's next words carried a threat. The challenge is nullified. Your colony ships will be intercepted. This experiment ends now. Maya's laugh echoed through the shelter. Look around you, Exthal. Really look. What do you see? The alien leader paused, their sensory tendrils extending to analyze the structure. Horror slowly spread across their crystalline features as understanding dawned. That's right, Maya confirmed. While you were waiting for colony ships, we were already building. Every bacterium, every microscopic organism we've modified is part of a larger network. This entire region is already a human colony, just not the kind you expected. A new understanding. The final confrontation took place not with weapons or ships, but with ideas. As the collective's fleet gathered to stop the approaching colony ships, they found themselves facing a choice they had never encountered in their millennia of guiding lesser species. Commander Chen stood on the bridge of Earth's lead ship, addressing not just Exthal but the entire collective leadership. You offered us protection because you believed we needed guidance to survive. We've shown you something different, that survival isn't about superior technology or physical capability. It's about innovation, adaptation, and the willingness to try the impossible. On the planet below, Maya's colony had grown into a sprawling network of biological and crystalline structures, each one a testament to humanity's unique approach to problem-solving. The bacterial matrix had evolved far beyond its original design, creating an entirely new ecosystem that bridged the gap between Earth life and the extreme conditions of their new world. Your species continues to defy our understanding, Exthal admitted, their tone carrying a new note of respect. Perhaps there is more than one path to advancement. The collective's fleet withdrew, not in defeat but in recognition of something they had never encountered before, a species that didn't need their guidance because it had learned to guide itself, to evolve and adapt in ways that transcended conventional limitations. Maya stood at the entrance of her shelter, watching through the perpetual storm as the first true colonists arrived. They would find not just a survivable environment, but a new way of thinking about humanity's place in the universe. You know what the best part is, she transmitted to Commander Chen. We didn't just prove we could survive here. We proved that life itself is more adaptable than anyone imagined. And that's a lesson even the collective needed to learn. As the colony ships landed, bringing with them the next wave of human ingenuity and determination, the message was clear: humanity's greatest strength wasn't in their technology or their physical capabilities, but in their endless capacity to adapt, to innovate, and to turn the impossible into simply another challenge to overcome.